Now, this is the main reason why they're sharpening weapons. This is the first time that Matthew recognizes that Simon has been working with Gaius. Thaddeus hates when they do this. So all the disciples are sharpening equipment, either axes or knives or spears in Simon's case, which is really interesting because they actually say that they're not like, they don't want to use these to attack, but like, what else do you do with a giant spear? I don't know.
What are you doing?
You know, John and Thomas healed a blind person once.
I'd love to do it again.
Now, of course, as always, they're kind of messing with Matthew, saying, you know, John and Thomas healed a blind person, saying, you don't see what we're doing? It's pretty clear what we're doing. You should know.
I can see that you are sharpening weapons, but why?
Some of us are worried, Matthew. Things are becoming serious. More people have heard. I mean, you were there when he healed the bleeding woman.
Of course, I wrote it all down. But I did not see what happened in the house.
I said I'll give you the details later.
Now, this is actually really funny as well. So if we look at Matthew's gospel, this is what we get from the healing of Jairus' daughter, okay? So if we look here, it's a pretty short section. Like, this is pretty much it, right? These are all the details that we get from Matthew. But if we look at the other gospels, well, first of all, in John, I don't think we get an account of this at all. But in Luke, we see this much longer version that has all of the details, right? So if we look in Matthew, it's a very short thing. Luke, very long thing. And so it's kind of funny, this little jab that he has here. He's like, I'll tell you the details later. But remember, Jesus told them not to tell anybody. So John didn't write it in his gospel. And when the others heard about it and they wrote about it, they had way more details than what Matthew had. So I wonder if this is kind of a hint towards the gospel overall, if it's just like a little jab towards Matthew's gospel, that John didn't write about it at all, but that Matthew wrote very little about it because he didn't have all of the details.
You to forget. I told you, I won't forget.
Crowds were pushing in. A hobbling woman was able to grab at him.
Only the fringe of his garment, James.
The power went out of him without his consent.
Now, this is the main reason why they're sharpening weapons. Big James is really concerned that something will happen to Jesus without him wanting it to happen. Now, he did not seek out the woman with the issue of blood. She sought him and she touched his garment. And because of that, power went out of him and she was healed. But he didn't offer that up to her. He didn't go to her and give that to her, willingly, is what Big James is kind of thinking here. And so he's really worried that anybody could try to attack Jesus trying to be healed. And if they don't get healed, what happens, and blah, 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 right? We know from scripture that anybody that touched the hem of his garment, his tzitzit, actually did get healed. Anybody that touched the hem of his garment was healed. And we know that from scripture because it talks about it during that point. But Big James and the rest of them are really worried that they're not prepared enough for what might happen, if people get involved in this and if different things start happening. Thank you very much. So they're trying to prepare for whatever they need to in order to be ready for if someone were to attack Jesus or were to attack the group. They want to be ready for that.
It looked like
Thank
he
you
was
very
got
much.
punched.
You didn't say that it hurt.
No, it just looked like it.
If we had had blades, we could have hurt her.
Might have had to.
So Simon is kind of bringing this back into the reality for them. They're saying, well, we might have hurt her. We wouldn't have wanted to hurt her. But Simon is saying, no, you might have had to hurt her if they're trying to kill Jesus, right?
Well, I know someone who did have a blade. He just neglected to use it.
I was distracted. You know I don't do well in crowds.
So what if he did? We can't just stab people who get close to him.
Yep, very true.
The irony is, iron sharpens iron.
Don't you dare finish that sentence. Nathaniel has a point. If we had kept the crowd at bay, that poor woman would never have been healed.
I assessed that he
Right.
was in no real danger.
So Simon's basically saying, you all don't understand anything. I'm telling you, it was all good. It'll be fine.
Yeah, he just wanted to know who did it.
Yes, he praised her faith. He called her daughter.
Philip, is that one of Eden's knives?
Yeah. Look, I don't think all of this paranoia about protecting Jesus is necessary.
You just asked her for it?
Yes, she mentioned it hadn't been sharpened in a long time.
I understand, Simon. What with all the time you're spending with your Roman.
So here, let me explain this. Philip has one of Eden's knives because he needed something to sharpen, and they brought it out to sharpen it. Simon's confused because he has one of his wife's knives. That's funny. But he's been with Gaius so much fixing the cistern, which seems to be done, I guess, now. They've fixed it. So they've been fixing that cistern and dealing with that issue. So he hasn't spent a lot of time with Eden. This is kind of perpetuating some of the things that we've seen with Simon and Eden so far, that they've been having issues.
Gaius puts his sandals on 1 foot at a time, just like you and me.
And this is the first time that Matthew recognizes that Simon has been working with Gaius. Gaius has really only worked with Matthew so far, so he's kind of interested in that and in what's going on with Gaius, and he defends him a little bit here.
Gaius.
Yes, Matthew, we're fixing the cistern unless these ingrates like trekking to the old well.
Gaius is not an evil man.
Oh, wonderful. Now we have 2 devoted fans of a terrorist.
Yes, he has been.
Again, this would have been the common Jewish view. Now we have 2 devoted fans of a terrorist. That's exactly how the Jews would have saw it. They would have seen the Romans as captors. Is that the right word? I think that's the right word. People that have taken them captive, right? They would have seen them almost as slave owners, right? And so John's response here would have been very common.
Been ruthless, but he's not like other Roman soldiers.
Associating with him could hurt our reputation with the pilgrims in the tent city.
Do we have a reputation?
Reputation has never really seemed like a priority of his.
Yep. Philip always bringing the wisdom, always bringing kind of the solid, level-headed responses.
If you all are sharpening weapons, should I be too?
Matthew,
Can you imagine Matthew with a giant sword or something? It'd be really funny.
the sharpest weapon of all.
His wit?
Again, we see this moment with Thaddeus. So again, they're making fun of Matthew. Thaddeus hates when they do this.
His wit?
So they're laughing at him, and then look at Thaddeus's face here. He's just like, again.
His mind.
But this is probably the first time ever that Simon has given Matthew a real compliment. He says, Matthew, you have a stronger weapon, a better weapon, your mind.
And your pen, you can poke somebody in the eye with it in a pinch.
I could not do that.
I'll show you.
Then our focus gets reset onto Simon Z. Hey, if you like this short part of our live stream, you can check out the full 5-hour live stream over on our Patreon at patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is literally the best way that you can help to support our ministry, and it really means a ton to us. You can contact us anytime through the chat on there, and you too could be like these amazing people that just joined our Patreon over the last few weeks. Thank you so much to all you amazing, amazing people, and thank you for supporting our ministry and what God has asked us to do.